welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. I'm Pat. If you're new here, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to, whether it's on streaming services or if you're on YouTube. Just help us out if you're looking for more coverage of the G1 or more New Japan, more AEW, Impact Wrestling, WWE, whatever it may be. Hit the subscribe button. We're covering loads and loads of wrestling, so you can help us out. You can give yourself some more free wrestling coverage, and it's a win-win. Like I said, my name's Pat, and I'm here to talk about the G1 CLIMAX. I've been covering the entire tournament for us here at the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, we have a playlist that features all of our reviews for the entire tournament in order, so you can get caught up to speed. I give out match recommendations for what you should watch, what you shouldn't watch. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're behind on the G1, you're running out of time to catch up because we're coming in on the final stretch here. I believe the finals are next Thursday. So, You can also follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. You can tweet at us. We will always respond. And if you're on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment on any of our videos. We will also respond. Any of us, we all have access to the YouTube. We will respond to your comment. Don't feel like you're just putting it out there and nobody's going to see it. We will, and we'll always make sure that we respond and give you an active reply, and don't just, say thanks. It'll be a thought-out response. So, we have two G1 shows to talk about, nights 14 and 15. I am recording these later than planned because it is August 12th, and the next night of action is on August 13th. So I was hoping to have these out earlier, but I did not get to record them in time, so making sure I get them out ahead of the 13th for those that want to be caught up. So we're going to dive on into this. As always, going to go over the undercard results, but not the actual... I didn't watch these matches, so I can't tell you if they're good or not. But for night 14 here, which was on Tuesday, August 9th, we had Bushi and Shingo defeating Fujita and Ishii. Tom Lawlor and Royce Isaacs of Team Filthy defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and Taka Michinoku. Aaron Henare, the Great Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay defeated Dick Togo, Sho, El Phantasmo, and Evil. And Hirooki Goto, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Okada defeated Gato, Bad Luck Fale, and Juice Robinson. I do not believe it was this night. I want to say it was the night of the 15th. That New Japan announced that Jay White had to be pulled from shows due to suffering heat stroke. So they just pulled him from the undercard matches. It might have been the 14th. I don't remember if it was the 14th or 15th. But regardless, Jay was pulled just to make sure he's okay and to give him some rest here before his next match, which is on night not night 13, on the 13th, so night 16. Alright, diving into the actual tournament, we kicked off with YOHSHI-HASHI versus Yujiro Takahashi for D-Block action, and our commentary team for night 14 was Kevin Kelly and El Phantasmo. So after 2 nights with Chris Carlton back, we went back to the rotating cast of wrestlers, and I believe they announced that for night 16 we're going to be getting David Finlay making his commentary debut, so that'll be nice. But for D-Block action here, YOHSHI-HASHI versus Yujiro. So let's dive into the recap here. As soon as YOHSHI-HASHI gets in the ring, Yujiro attacks him on the middle turnbuckle, and we have Kevin noting on commentary that before the show, he put a poll out on Twitter asking for people's G1 MVPs with a number of individuals saying YOHSHI-HASHI, and I can confirm that I was one of those people who replied to Kevin Kelly, and I got a like from the guy, so shout out Kevin Kelly. Yoshi takes down Yujiro and cuts off the offensive onslaught from Big Huge, sending him into the barricade at ringside. Yujiro grabs a chair and nails YOHSHI-HASHI with it, and removes one of the corner pads as Yoshi gets back in the ring, who gets sent into the exposed steel as soon as he's back in. So great stuff from YOHSHI-HASHI, just getting murdered here. Eventually, YOHSHI-HASHI fires back, nailing a hard chop, but he gets locked against the ropes and eats the running boot from Yujiro as he looks for the Fisherman Buster. But YOHSHI-HASHI counters with a vertical suplex. Finally in control, we get a corner clothesline, a chop, and the headhunter all connecting for YOHSI-HASHI, following by him hanging Yujiro upside down on the top rope. And he scores 2 drop kicks here for a 2 count. And Yujiro eventually does connect with the Fisherman Buster successfully, but our GOAT YOHSI-HASHI kicks out. The college slam gets looked for by Takahashi, but Yoshi transitions into the butterfly lock as Sho makes his arrival, because of course he does. And he gets onto the apron for the distraction. Yujiro looks for a low blow, but YOHSI-HASHI catches the fist, sliding out and taking out Sho on the barricade, and hot-shotting Yujiro on the top rope, and then coming off the top with a blockbuster for a 2 count. The super kick and dragon suplex combination lands for YOHSI-HASHI, but Yujiro grabs the referee, which allows Sho to nail Yoshi with a chair, setting up for Big Juice, which gets a near false. Was it Big Juice or Pimp Juice? I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Pimp Juice the first time that YOHSI-HASHI kicked out of. Big Juice gets looked for then, but Yoshi gets the backcracker, I should say, to get some separation here, and follows up with a big kick to the back of Yujiro as he looks for karma. But Sho is up again and gets taken down. A roll-up from YOHSI-HASHI for 2, and then a big lariat to take down Yujiro. The Miami Shine gets looked for, but Yoshi gets out with a super kick, but then gets sent face first into the exposed steel in the corner. Yujiro gets the ref distracted, and Sho slides in for the wrench shot to the head. Big Juice lands, and Yujiro Takahashi wins. Yujiro Takahashi moves to 6 points, and YOHSI-HASHI sits at 4 points, right? Yeah. Right. Why is Yujiro fucking Takahashi getting 3 wins in the G1 Climax? I get everyone can't win every match, but come the fuck on. He should not be beating YOHSI-HASHI this deep into the tournament. I do not think he deserves 3 wins. YOHSI-HASHI, I thought, tried to deliver his best, and YOHSI-HASHI's had incredible performances pretty much every night of this tournament, but it came down to the normal House of Torture shenanigans with Sho and Yujiro, and I can't say it was a good time. I really do not understand why Bad Luck Fale, Yujiro, and Toriano are in the tournament this year. Typically, when you're doing the normal G1, they're there for the rest matches, but with this year's schedule and how the matches, were stretched out, I think El Phantasmo had a 13-day break in between singles matches. You don't need them. And you had a 28-man tournament. You could have easily gotten, another AEW person, somebody from Impact, somebody from Noah, literally anywhere. New Japan Strong guys like Lawlor. I don't know. This is not... You do not need Yujiro and Co. in this tournament. You could even take Evil out. Evil's had an awful tournament. I think Evil has genuinely had a worse tournament than Yujiro, in terms of performance-wise. But it is what it is, and at this point, Yujiro getting to 6 points would tie him with David Finlay, and he has the tiebreaker over David Finlay, so by definition, Yujiro Takahashi is in the lead of D-Block, ahead of the likes of El Phantasmo, YOHSI-HASHI, David Finlay, Will Ospreay, Shingo Takagi, Juice Robinson. What? Insane. I mean, D-Block, there's been people that have said that the G1 this year has been predictable. I don't think anybody could have predicted Yujiro and David Finlay would be leading D-Block. Chase Owens versus SANADA here. Back and forth to start as both men come up with stalemates here. Chase attempts to bait SANADA with a handshake, and he fails with the bow and arrow submission. Owens looks to try and get the Paradise Lock, but can't get it. We get sunset flips from both guys as SANADA succeeds in getting the Paradise Lock put in, and obviously nailing the drop kick to the rear end. The plancha gets looked for from SANADA, but he gets caught with a kick and a neck breaker from Chase as we go to ringside briefly for Chase to get into it with Bushi on commentary randomly. A big drop kick connects from SANADA, sending Owens to the floor as he follows up with his patented plancha finally. Down into the ringside area, In an innovative sequence here, Chase uses the ring ropes to like bounce SANADA. Like I'm trying to like figure out how I would describe this. Like it looks like he's going for like a roll up type thing, but instead he just like bounces SANADA's back and head off the ropes. Um, and because Chase is like laying there, so SANADA like kind of goes over Chase and then lands face first to set up for the STF. It was very hard to describe, but is like genuinely innovative offense that I don't think I've ever seen before. SANADA does get his foot to the rope though, so the STF isn't in for too long. We had a package pile driver looked for, but SANADA gets out and teases the TKO, and then looks for skull end, but Chase gets out of it. The moonsault out of the corner from SANADA fails as Chase catches him and lawn darts him into the corner, locking in the sleeper hold. We get a running knee from Chase, but it gets evaded as SANADA goes for the O'Connor roll, but Chase counters with his own version of skull end. Owens then goes for the ugliest Muto moonsault I have ever seen and misses as SANADA rolls out of the way. SANADA goes for his own, but Chase gets the knees up for a roll up, and we get a near fall here. Bicycle knee from Chase Owens. Package pile driver gets counted with a Rana into the TKO from SANADA. The Muto moonsault lands for a 2 count. He locks in the skull end. Owens fights out for a moment and gets to the ropes, but only his fingers touch, failing to grab the ropes here as Chase Owens passes out. So he did not tap out. I feel like they really protected Chase on this one. And SANADA wins. So SANADA moves to 6 points and Chase Owens sits at 4 points. I thought this was quite good, honestly. I think Chase Owens really earned his spot in the G1 this year. I thought he's shown some great chemistry with guys both in last year's tournament and this year's tournament. I thought him and Ishii had a great match. I thought him and SANADA had a really strong match. I feel like the only match I really didn't love of his was the Taichi one. But Chase Owens is somebody that when he first got announced for like the G1 last year and this year, I think a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes, but he's making a case for why he should be in this compared to like guys like Evil, Yujiro, Yano, and Fale, who are stinking up the joint. So I would welcome more Chase Owens in the G1 compared to a number of other people. And as for SANADA, I think he's continuing a fairly strong tournament, maybe a bit underrated in terms of his match quality. They're not normally as flashy as some of the other people's, but as somebody who's not like a normal like SANADA stan or somebody who really loves SANADA, I think he's had a lot of really strong matches this year. I also really enjoyed the ending here with the skull end and Chase just like coming so close to getting to the rope, but only getting his finger and then passing out. So I thought they executed a really good ending here. That would send us into Taichi versus Tama Tonga here, and we would be throwing it back to their feud over the Iron Glove. And Taichi does have it with him during his entrance. And obviously this was from when Tama Tonga was still in Bullet Club, before the birth of babyface Tama Tonga. And before, as like we had started here, Taichi questions his alignment, and he grabs the Iron Glove and tosses it to Tama, which causes Tama to have basically a Vietnam flashback, refusing to touch it, but Taichi insists, continually trying to give it to him. As Tama continues to refuse, Taichi just beats him down in the corner with boots, and then attempts to force the glove onto Tama's hand. But Marty Asami finally takes it away as the two go out to the floor. And Tama gets sent into the barricade and choked out with wires at ringside. Once back in the ring, Taichi just repeatedly chokes Tama out, having to be told to stop. And Tama Tonga tries to fire back with some forearms, but gets leveled with a hook kick. Tama gets to his feet, eating kicks from Taichi as he comes back to life, and takes down Taichi with a lariat as both go down. We get a trio of European uppercuts connecting from Tama Tonga, with Taichi nailing a Kamigiri to break up the offensive run here. Both guys miss with big strikes before Taichi takes down Tama Tonga again, just using a big kick to the face to take him down. The pants come off from Taichi first, and he teases the buzzsaw kick, but Taichi just like cancels out of it, and he looks to the Iron Glove here as he gets kind of put in a trance, and he fights the urge to put them on, which allows Tama to get up and nail the Death Valley Driver, or Death Valley Bomb. They changed the name of if it's the Death Valley Bomb or Death Valley Driver, but whatever. And then the Supreme Blow for a near fall. Tama calls for Jado to join him in slamming the mat for the gun stun, but he stops, and he goes into the trance as well with the Iron Glove. As he takes it out of the corner, he gets it into his hands. Jado tells him not to do it, and Taichi is just sitting in the corner begging him to put it on, leading to Tama throwing it to Marty, and he goes for the gun stun, but Taichi goes for the Gato clutch here for a big near fall. We get a second gun stun attempt, but it fails, and we get a near fall from Taichi. The Black Mephisto gets looked for, but Tama gets out and gets an Enzigiri to connect before eating a huge kick to the head. Axe Bomber gets looked for from Taichi, but Tama Tonga counters with the Tongan Twist. They collide in the ring. Both men just look for lariats that fail to take each other down before Tama connects with a big drop kick, and Taichi gets the Axe Bomber here. Black Mephisto gets looked for again, but Tama rolls off the back and teases the gun stun. Before getting thrown down sumo style, and out of nowhere the gun stun does connect as Tama Tonga wins, moving to 6 points, and Taichi sits at 4. I thought this was pretty good stuff here. I think Tama Tonga really continues to work well as a babyface wrestler for me, especially compared to how kind of boring he was when he was a singles guy as a heel. I thought him in Bullet Club in the G1s normally weren't great. But I'm really liking just babyface Tama Tonga. I think his offense and the way he wrestles works well for it, and the crowds really get into him. I also appreciated them playing off the history between Taichi and Tama's feud over the Iron Glove here, and really establishing that Tama has grown as a character to the point where he fights with honor and doesn't need the glove anymore. I wouldn't say this was the most groundbreaking or thrilling match by any means, but it was good. It was entertaining across the board. And it does seem like we're getting, the big story here for B Block is Tama's arc here to facing Jay White on the final night, which I think is really compelling. So I'm looking forward to Tama Tonga versus Jay White. I can say that firmly. And Taichi's next match after this is against Jay. I think both of those should be really good, to be honest. That would send us into our semi-main event, which was Lance Archer versus JONAH here. Another big boy battle in the Monster Block. We have a big strike exchange to start as JONAH and Archer just go back and forth until they go down to their knees, eventually fighting back up, still striking one another, and then flying off the ropes and tanking each other's clotheslines before JONAH gets a DDT to drop Lance Archer down. JONAH would take control again with forearms to the face of Archer, and he would eventually get him into the corner and just lights him up with more strikes, using a pair of lariats before eating a clothesline to the back of the head from Archer. With JONAH now in the corner, Archer nails a trio of splashes as JONAH goes down. Archer comes off the ropes with a fairly cool-looking springboard splash here for a 2 count, and then he looks to body slam JONAH, but JONAH gets out as both men, JONAH gets out of it and then body slams Lance as both men then fail to connect with sentons, These two light each other up with forearms once again as Archer misses with clubbing blows before nailing a bossman slam for a 2 count. JONAH goes up top, possibly looking for a moonsault, but Archer gets to the ropes and crotches JONAH up top. Lance climbs up to join him and looks for an avalanche German suplex, but JONAH gets him off with forearms, and we get a blackout teased here, but JONAH gets down and comes off the ropes with a lariat that just kills Lance in the center of the ring. The Black Forest Bomb connects for JONAH for a big reaction as he climbs up top, obviously setting up for the torpedo, but Archer gets back up and nails the running step-up knee in the corner, preventing the torpedo as JONAH falls onto the apron. A super kick and a diving shoulder tackle off the apron connect from JONAH. After sending JONAH into the barricade, Archer goes for a cannonball against the metal railing, but Bad Dude Tito jumps in front of JONAH to try and protect his partner here. The spear connects from JONAH at ringside as he and Lance get up onto the apron. Lance gets sent back into the ring, but as JONAH tries to make it back in, Lance sends him off and back to the floor as the 20 count comes out, and Lance Archer wins via countout, our 4th countout win of the tournament. And Lance Archer moves to 6 points as JONAH sits at 6 points. I'm fairly certain some people are going to hate the countout, but to me, at least, this one made sense. Jonah's only other loss in the tournament was to a count out to Yano at the beginning of the tournament. So him losing here and not getting pinned by Lance really felt like a conscious decision by New Japan to protect him. Especially after just beating Okada. So I didn't really have an issue with it. I don't know what the overall plan is, but it really feels like Jonah leading TMDK and holding such a major pinfall over Kazuchika Okada. Like it feels like they have a big plan for him within the company. I don't think anybody gets to pin Okada. So I'm curious as to what's the deal with TMDK and Jonah moving forward. As for the match itself, I thought it was good and continued strong showings for both Lance and Jonah in the second half of this year's tournament after, both I thought failed to impress in their first few matches. So I think both guys have a better second half of the tournament than they did the first half. And that would send us into the main event. Tetsuya Naito versus Kenta in the C block. With Naito sent to the floor here at the beginning, Kenta hits his own Tranquilo pose, laying on his stomach and posing before trying to boot Naito off the apron, who dodges and drags Kenta out to ringside, just slamming him into the barricades. Naito gets sent into the ring post before getting rolled into the ring to eat a strong kick to the back from Kenta. Naito goes out to the apron, but Kenta boots him and drops him for a 2 count as he looks to expose the steel in the corner, removing one of the turnbuckle pads and sending Naito back first, which Naito going into the exposed steel back first is just a trope at this point. Kenta gets in control using kicks and rest holds to keep Naito grounded, and it became clear at this point that this was going long, and I think it went like 23 minutes. Naito would fire back with forearms and connects with a neckbreaker to get his first bit of reprieve in this match after a strong start from Kenta. Get the elbow to the face and a basement drop kick to the head from Naito, and follows up with the combination Cabron. Naito drops Kenta's neck across his knee before locking the legs around the neck and shoulders, with Kevin Kelly basically describing this submission that Naito's been using throughout the tournament as a full Nelson that uses the legs instead of the arms to lock it in. So there's your description of what this move is. Kenta comes off the top rope with what looks like a tornado DDT, but not really, as he snaps Naito's neck over the top rope, and then comes back in and locks the STF in. Naito looks for a clothesline, but Kenta catches him with the DDT, spiking Naito, who sells it greatly for a 2 count. Tetsuya Naito then comes back with a swinging DDT off the ropes as both men go down in the center of the ring, with pretty loud applause from the crowd. Back up, Naito goes for the cravat hold that he's been using throughout the tournament to set up for Destino, before just unloading elbow shots into the neck of Kenta, repeatedly just dropping him to the mat before eventually landing Gloria for a 2 count. A big spinebuster lands for Naito as he then looks for Destino, but Kenta gets out and hits a top rope green killer to cut off the massive offensive run that Naito was on. And as Naito's in the corner now, Kenta fires off a drop kick and then the hesitation drop kick before heading up top and connecting with the top rope double stomp for a near fall. Rope-assisted neckbreaker lands for Naito in the corner, just dropping Kenta's neck across the knee once again. And Naito looks for Destino again, but Kenta boots him and nails the Busaiku knee out of nowhere. As we get the go-to-sleep attempted, but Naito counters with the Destino off of Kenta's shoulders as the 20-minute mark gets called. A big strike exchange here, and Kenta gets the best of it with a series of just brutal palm strikes that fully connect here. And Naito breaks it up with a flying forearm off the ropes, an inside cradle from Kenta for a big near fall before sending Naito into the exposed steel for another roll-up and a 2 count. The Busaiku knee, and Naito still kicks out, so some big near falls here for Kenta. This was great. He sets up for go to sleep, but Naito gets out again with Valencia, and he's firmly busted open on the nose, and he hits a standing Destino, and Tetsuya Naito wins. So Naito moves to 6 points, and Kenta sits at 2, and I believe this would firmly eliminate Kenta from the tournament. Definitely a slow start, but as expected with these two, that's, kind of fine. I thought Kenta's strikes here looked phenomenal. Naito's selling remains some of the best in New Japan. I just thought this was an awesome main event. And the near falls at the end of this with Kenta, the inside cradle, and then, sending Naito into the exposed steel, getting a 2 count there, the Busaiku knee for the big near fall. Really good stuff towards the end of this match. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. Shame that Kenta didn't have too great of a performance points wise, but it is what it is. He had some really solid matches. Or I should say he's had some really solid matches. I don't know if he's done tournament matches. In terms of what matches I would recommend Tetsuya Naito versus Kenta. I think that was a really good time. Tama Tonga versus Taichi, I would also really recommend. I think those are the top two matches. And then I'd probably say Chase Owens versus SANADA if you want three. Lance Archer versus JONAH was a good time, but obviously the finish is going to be, probably turning some people off. And Yujiro, I don't think anybody wants to watch a match where Yujiro Takahashi wins, so I'm not going to recommend that. But, Chase Owens versus SANADA, I think, is going to be like one of the more underrated matches of the tournament. Taichi versus Tama Tonga was very fun, and then the main event with Tetsuya Naito versus Kenta was what you would typically expect from, like, your New Japan main events. So, yeah, overall I'd say pretty good night of the tournament. Not the best, but by far not the worst. So that'll send us into the next night of action, which was night 15. Alright, so moving into night 15 of the tournament. Our undercard matches, we have Aaron Henare, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay defeating YOHSHI-HASHI, teaming with the two young lions Nakashima and Oiwa. Toru Yano and Tomohiro Ishii defeated Bad Dude Tito and JONAH. Taka Michinoku, Taichi, and Lance Archer defeated Gato, Juice Robinson, and Kenta. And Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, Yujiro Takahashi, and Sho defeated Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, Sanada, and Bushi. That is an insane thing to read. That the team of Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, Yujiro Takahashi, and Sho defeated LIJ. Oh, man. To be fair, again, it's Chase Owens pinning Bushi, but still, the state of that team. Fuck. Anyway, our tournament matches. Commentary was Kevin Kelly and Lance Archer. It is so interesting to hear Lance Archer on commentary. So, like, mild-mannered and, like, very reserved and quiet for the most part. He, like, pops for, like, big stuff, but he's just, like, sounds like a pretty normal guy. Compared to, obviously, his wrestling persona. El Phantasmo versus David Finlay here kick things off in the D block. Stalemate gets reached early on as ELP and Finlay trade pin attempts, both getting out and staring each other down. Before Phantasmo offers a hand, which Finlay just slaps away as the two go into trading forearms in the center of the ring. Finlay gets hot-shotted on the top rope as ELP nails the tope suicida to the floor. Bring a big springboard moonsault, dubbed the Too Sweet Salt by Kevin Kelly. Connects on the floor, and Phantasmo sends Finlay into the ring and follows up with a springboard splash here for a 2 count. Just a big offensive run here from El Phantasmo. Clothesline from Finlay connects with ELP against the ropes, sending him over the top as Finlay follows up with his plancha down to the floor. Back in the ring, the Lion Salt lands from Phantasmo, but he can only keep Finlay down for 2. We get the acid drop landing from Finlay, and Phantasmo kicks out, with Finlay climbing up to the top before being crotched by Phantasmo. The superplex gets looked for by ELP, but he gets sent off the top, and he comes back with a step-up springboard enziguri and a super rana, following it up with the Thunder Kiss 86 as Finlay kicks out for a near fall. Really good sequence. Trash Panda and CR2 get looked for from both guys, but they both get out of it. Finlay goes for a series of roll-ups, with ELP getting a crucifix pin as a counter to the roll-up, and Phantasmo wins, moving to 4 points, keeping himself alive in the tournament just barely, as David Finlay sits at 6. I thought this was pretty solid stuff. Again, I'm really enjoying David Finlay and El Phantasmo in this tournament, so I thought these two had a fun little match here. Nothing too spectacular, but I thought we really got to see a lot of really fun, just good-looking offense from El Phantasmo. And again, I think he earned his place in this G1 this year. I'm a big El Phantasmo supporter, so, I'm biased, but I thought he's doing a really good job so far. Tama Tonga versus the Great Okan would be up next. Okan looks to take Tama down to the mat to start, but Tama escapes, taking down the Great Okan with a pair of hip tosses before locking in control of the arm. Back in control, Okan eventually sends Tama Tonga into the corner and sits on his head, pulling out the arms as he begins stretching him out here. before trying to force Tama Tonga to kiss his boot, which only fires Tama Tonga up more here. A lariat from Tama levels the Great-O-Khan and finally takes him off his feet, as Tama then nails another lariat, a forearm, and a drop kick before ripping the shirt off. The Tongan twist gets looked for, but O-Khan gets out by locking the claw on the face, as both men go down, with the Great-O-Khan getting to his feet first, and then hammering away with forearms in the corner to Tama Tonga. O-Khan comes off the ropes and nails the bicycle kick as Tama gets an enzigiri, but O-Khan catches Tama mid-Superman punch with a judo throw for a really nice sequence here. The Mongolian chops come out after a strike exchange, but Tama gets the Death Valley driver to land as he goes up top, connecting with Supreme Flow for a 2 count. And O-Khan's unique airplane spin here then connects as he locks in the Sheep Killer, transitioning into the backbreaker before locking the Sheep Killer in back once more. With Tama slowly fading, O-Khan looks for the Eliminator, but Tama counters with the gun stun, and Tama Tonga wins, moving to 8 points as the Great O-Khan sits at 2. I thought these two had pretty good chemistry. Great O-Khan's not somebody who I think really connects with too many people when he's doing singles matches. I think Great O-Khan's really kind of found his... him and Jeff Cobb, came together as the United Empire's tag team, and I think they work really well together. But Great O-Khan is kind of hit or miss singles matches wise, at least for me. But I thought him and Tama Tonga, I thought they had a good chemistry here. This was anywhere from fine to good. Not great. I would put Finlay and Phantasmo above this. But again, this wasn't bad by any means. So, Evil versus Zack Sabre Jr. Evil's out first, and as ZSJ makes his entrance, he comes out wearing a baseball hat and has his head down. Evil and Togo meet him on the ramp to attack, but they pull the hat off, and it's Fujita, the young lion, with a face mask on as they question what's going on, and Dick Togo storms to the back, and Zack Sabre Jr. just kills Dick Togo here backstage and then drags him out, and he grabs Evil too, and we get some very quick attempts here to start as Evil looks for everything is evil. The Zack driver gets looked for, but Zack gets the Gato clutch, and Zack Sabre Jr. wins in a matter of, I think, 44 seconds. So Zack Sabre Jr. moves to 8 points, and Evil is now mathematically eliminated. Thank the Lord. This did not need to be long, and it was not. This was 44 seconds, and this was the greatest 44 seconds of the tournament. So again, it's going to come down to, I would assume, Sabre and Naito on the final night. I really can see them going with either guy. I still think Naito's winning the whole tournament, so my bet would be Naito, but you never know. They could pull a swerve here. So I guess we'll see. But this, again, there's not much else to say for a 44-second match, but I'm glad it was this short. I did not need to sit through another Evil match. Okada versus Tom Lawlor here. This is, a big one, I think, for a lot of people wanting to see. First time ever. After fighting at ringside, we get some hard, stiff forearms coming out from Lawlor against Okada back in the ring, who ducks an elbow from the Rainmaker but gets caught with a flapjack as Okada looks to get a bit more control. Lawlor gets placed on the top turnbuckle, and Okada drop kicks him off the top and down to the floor for a rough landing from the leader of Team Filthy here. Okada's arm gets caught in between the railing, allowing for Tom to boot it against the metal as Tom gets control at ringside again, sending Okada back into the ring, and he rolls through the middle rope into a triangle submission before transitioning to locking in a wrist lock as well, but Okada gets to the ropes. Shotgun drop kick connects from Okada, but Tom manages to lock in an armbar as Okada forces the rope break again. Lawlor and Okada then just trade forearms in the center. Tom wins the exchange, leveling Okada with a final forearm, which gets a 2 count here. We get a rope-assisted shoulder breaker, which is apparently called the Divorce Court, connects for Lawlor as he locks the arms of Okada behind his back, but Okada makes it to the ropes once again for the break. Lawlor spikes Okada down here and then locks the wrists as he lifts him for the knee strikes to the face and goes for the nasty knee to the brain, but Okada fights out and then gets dropped with a suplex from Lawlor as we get the 15-minute call. Lawlor teases his own Rainmaker, but Okada doesn't let it happen as Lawlor comes back and kicks out the arm of Okada with a sort of PK move. Lawlor looks for a guillotine, but Okada gets out and sits down on Tom Lawlor as Okada gets the pin here. Moving to 8 points, and Tom Lawlor sits at 4. I don't recall if this eliminates Lawlor. I'm pretty sure it does. If he wasn't already eliminated, but I think Lawlor is out at this point. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure mathematically after this loss to Okada, he's done. Thought this was pretty good. Maybe I was expecting a little more from these two, but I still enjoyed this. Okada's like again, Okada's still one of the best in the world, but like, I don't know. There's just like this tournament that really hasn't been the Okada tournament like in years past that the G1 has been. He's not like, I wouldn't even put him in like contention for like MVP of the tournament, and part of that's not on Okada. He's in the weakest block by far. But yeah, I do really like Tom Lawlor, and I hope we get to see more of him in Japan. I think, I hope we do. It's similar to like Ace Austin, who got super over in the Best of the Super Juniors. I feel like Lawlor has connected with the fans and is fairly over. So I'd be very down to see Tom Lawlor get to come back to Japan for some matches, or let him do Wrestle Kingdom. Have Fred Rosser come over and they can do another match for the strong openweight title at Wrestle Kingdom. Why not? And that would send us to our main event, which is Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Hirooki Goto. A rematch from the AEW Eliminator match that they had after, or for, for deciding who gets the shot at Forbidden Door against Jon Moxley. After Punk went down with injury, we knew it was going to be Tanahashi, but still. So a nice little rematch from this, Tanahashi controls the early goings here, just wrestling in his more methodical fashion, nailing a few body blows to Goto before locking in submissions and just trying to keep Goto grounded here before Goto eventually fires up with some stiff strikes to the face of the ace. He comes back with a discus lariat as both men go down. We get the running bulldog out of the corner, which gets a 2 count from Goto, and he follows up by looking for the Ushigoroshi for the first time. But Tana blocks it twice and comes back with a reverse sling blade to take down Hirooki Goto. Tanahashi locks in the cloverleaf for the first time, but Goto gets out and to the apron as Tana looks for the dragon screw through the ropes, but Goto counters and slams Tanahashi against the turnbuckle, downing the ace as Goto goes up to the top. Tanahashi fights to his feet and meets Goto up top with the two exchanging forearms, but Tanahashi manages to suplex Goto back into the ring. Tana goes back to the cloverleaf, but Goto catches him, getting the arms trapped of Tana in the center of the ring, but Tanahashi manages to get his boot to the rope for the rope break. The GTR gets looked for, but Tana counters with a look for the twist and shout as Goto evades before the two rock each other with stiff forearms here, again in the center of the ring. The headbutt from Goto connects, but a stiff slap to the jaw from Tanahashi opens Goto's mouth as commentary notes Tanahashi legit broke Goto's jaw in a past G1, which forced him to get out, have to be removed from the tournament from the injury. But Tana takes him down with another sling blade for a 2 count, and he goes up top, takes down Goto with aces high, and it looks like Goto's done here as Tana comes down with the high fly flow, but Goto slides out of the way at the last second, and he's just gushing blood from the mouth here. And he takes Tanahashi down with a Russian leg sweep and a clutch pin here for a crazy near fall. The one-man Shoto, the finisher of Bishamon, lands in the corner, but Goto can't make the cover. Goto takes Tana down with the big mid-kick, but Tana gets an inside cradle for another crazy near fall here as he's used the inside cradle in the tournament before. And he gets Goto down with 2 twists and shouts, and as he goes for the third, Goto hits the Shoten Kai, and then the GTR, and Hirooki Goto wins, moving to 6 points as he ties Hiroshi Tanahashi, and now holds the tiebreaker over him, both men sitting at 6 points. I thought this was an awesome main event, I really did. I think this was probably better than their match for the AEW Eliminator, probably just because that one was really predictable. I think everybody knew Tanahashi was winning. And Tanahashi's been on quite the run right now in the G1, so, Goto cutting him off, I think, was a good surprise, especially, and once Goto got injured in this, with the bleeding from the mouth, I think that really helped sell that, Tanahashi's just going to win, but Goto fought through it and won. I thought this was a very strong main event for these two. So yeah, that gets my seal of approval 100%. So if I'm recommending two matches from this, I think the genuine must watch is Tanahashi versus Goto, and then I would probably say David Finlay versus El Phantasmo, and I'll just toss Evil versus Zack Sabre Jr. because it's cathartic. You know, who wouldn't want to watch Evil get squashed in 44 seconds? And that sends us into night 16. But first, I did forget, we got to go over the updated points, the updated standings here. So coming out of night 15, A block is still led by Okada at 8 points. But we have Lance Archer and JONAH tied at 6 behind him. Tom Lawlor, Jeff Cobb, and Bad Luck Fale at 4, and Toru Yano at 2. B block is now tied. Jay White and Tama Tonga both have 8. SANADA has 6. Chase Owens has 4. The Great Okan and Tomohiro Ishii have 2. Oh, and Taichi also has 4. C block, Zack Sabre Jr. leads at 8. Goto, Naito, and Tanahashi are all tied at 6. Evil has 4, and Hanare and Kenta have 2. So those three are definitely eliminated. And last but not least, in D block, the wild card block where it's super close for everybody. Yujiro leads the block with 6. Him and Finlay are tied, but he has the tiebreaker. And YOHSHI-HASHI, Shingo, Ospreay, Juice, and Phantasmo all have 4. That's what it's looking like as we come out of night 15. And before we go over the preview, just so I don't forget, I will give the updated standings for the Deep 6 predictions challenge here that we have. So coming out of night 15, Angelo joins Joey, Ryan, and Sam as all of them have had 0-point nights. Angelo got 0. Pat, which is me, Sam, Ryan, and Rob all got 3, and Joey got 4. So our updated standings are Ryan now in last place with 33, Joey and Sam in next to last with 34, Angelo in third with 35. I have now passed Angelo. I'm at 38, and Rob is in the lead at 42 as we head into night 16 of the G1 Climax with some, we're getting in real close here towards the end of this tournament. And our final, or not our final matches, but our matches for this show are C block with Aaron Hanare versus Kenta. Both men are mathematically eliminated, but I'm looking forward to this one just because the striking should be really good. Jeff Cobb versus Toru Yano. If Yano beats Cobb, Cobb's eliminated. Yano's already eliminated from the tournament. I can honestly see Yano playing spoiler to Jeff Cobb's tournament here, and then it would leave Okada and Lance Archer. We have Shingo versus Yujiro. If Yujiro Takahashi beats Shingo, then Takagi is eliminated from the tournament. YOHSHI-HASHI versus Will Ospreay. If Yujiro wins his match against Shingo Takagi, then whoever loses this match is automatically eliminated. So that's fun. This seems like it's a first time ever matchup. I don't think, looking at so singles records here, because I do like looking at these. So Aaron Hanare and Kenta have never wrestled. So that's a first time match. Yano and Cobb have only wrestled once. Cobb has a victory over him. Shingo and Yujiro are 3-0-1, with Takagi having 3 singles wins over him, Yujiro having 0, and apparently a draw, or no contest, I'd assume. YOHSHI-HASHI versus Will Ospreay looks like it's a first time ever singles match, so that's cool. Jay White versus Taichi. Taichi is apparently already eliminated, so him beating Jay can only make it possible for SANADA or Tama Tonga to have an easier shot here. And singles record, Jay is 2-0 against him, and so that's our tournament matches. So Jay White versus Taichi, I'm assuming, is the main event. Ospreay versus YOHSHI-HASHI, Shingo versus Yujiro, Jeff Cobb versus Yano, and Aaron Hanare versus Kenta. So, and this is tomorrow, or depending on when you're listening to this, it's already happened, but August 13th. So that will be what's going on. As they've dubbed it, this is the pre-penultimate league as we come into the final days of the G1. So Thank you for listening. If you made it through all of this, be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section on YouTube, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you are listening on podcast services like Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, Spotify, Google, whatever, please subscribe to the podcast. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a rating. It helps us out massively. So thank you, and I will continue the G1 coverage as we go into the final days of this tournament. So this is me signing off, but thank you for joining me for another episode.